Push it. Push it. Push it. Come on, my guy.
No, that's not happening.
Use your soft hands, man.
I can't use it. Oh,
Come on, dude. Just lower the thing.
Is that okay?
I think it's okay. All right.
Okay. Can you hear me okay? Is that good?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
cool.
I think we're live. Okay.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. This is the Perfect Movie Podcast. My name is Oscar Olesen.
And my name is Callum McAvoy.
We are your glorious hosts, taking you on a journey through the work of our favorite
And not so favourite.
actors and directors. Each episode, we will choose an actor or director to focus on, talk about 4 of their films, extract the single most important element of each one, what we call the quintessence. And then we'll mash them all together to create the perfect movie for said actor or director. A beautiful monster! Haha! Our focus for this episode is the infinitely infamous, the utterly insane Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, I still don't know why we picked Nicolas Cage for our first episode. There were a lot easier choices.
Because I insisted, Callum.
You did insist. You got me under the influence of alcohol. That's not true.
Don't blame the booze, man. Blame Cage, dude.
Yeah, I do blame Cage. I don't know. I like Nicolas Cage as an actor. I do like a lot of his films. Seems like a very nice guy in real life as well. He is an actor who tends to overact a lot, though. And I think that's both brilliant and also very bad. We get great moments, as we'll probably discuss today. We also get pretty terrible moments from him.
Yeah.
And his filmography, I think, generally on the whole is pretty good. He does have quite a few duds, though. But they're not bad. They are bad. But some of them
Are they or aren't they?
Well, they're bad.
Right.
But some of them are just so bad, it's so good to watch. And I think you can always have a good time watching Nicolas Cage.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think, again, decent actor, has got some problems though.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, I think that's fair. Okay. Well, I absolutely love Nicolas Cage. He is, in my opinion, everything that an artist should be. Because, like, look, okay, you can argue that, I mean, his acting method is completely arbitrary, and his performances are solely dependent on the skill of the director and everyone around him, like this, how the cinematography relates to his performance, and how much direction he is actually given and how specific the direction is. But in my mind, he acts like a multiplier, like a multiplying factor in the film. So if it's like kind of a shit film already, then he's just going to multiply how bad that film is, and it becomes about him. But if it's a really great film, a la, I mean, like a garbage film that he's been in, like, they're going to be tons. One that Callum he's going to cover is The Wicker Man. That's like pretty objectively just an awful film, very memeable. But then something great like Leaving Las Vegas, which we're not going to cover for reasons that I'm going to explain later on. And then Mandy, his newest film, which I'm definitely going to talk about, which is phenomenal. He multiplies the effects of the brilliant direction and amazing cinematography and storytelling, just by putting everything that he is into his performances. One amazing thing that I love about Nicolas Cage, of the many things that I love about him, is the fact that he calls his acting acting technique, he calls it nouveau shamanism, and it's basically where he takes like tokens, like these physical representations of symbolic aspects of the characters, and he sews them into this costume, and he puts on war paint, and then and uses bongos to create a syncopated rhythm to get into his character. He's just like utterly bizarre and eccentric, but that's his whole thing. And when there are scriptwriters and directors that understand who Nicolas Cage is and what he can do and what he does best, which is eccentric performances, the overacting, like you said, Cal. That's a recipe for absolute greatness.
I mean, one thing you can't accuse Nicolas Cage of ever doing is just phoning in a performance. You get so many actors who will do a film and you can tell they're not putting the effort in, they're just there for the paycheck.
Yeah.
I don't think Nicolas Cage has ever really done a performance like that. I think he generally commits to everything he's in, which is fantastic. You get so many actors, even people who have won multiple Oscars, will have performances where they just don't care. Nick Cage cares for everything. Even, and as you said, he can be in a terrible movie, but he'll put the effort into it, and he'll probably be the best part of that terrible movie. He's very watchable. His films may not be, but he is
exactly.
for sure.
Yeah, okay. So, those are our preliminary thoughts on Nick Cage, then. Okay, Cal, why don't you start us off with one of the films that you've seen?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty tough, because I think the original plan for this podcast, we were going to go through like his whole filmography.
Oh, my God, we tried that. But
we realised that was going to take like 4 hours, and we wouldn't get through it all.
No,
so we thought we'll narrow it down to 4 films.
Yeah.
Which again was incredibly tough. I've had to like discard so many films I love from him.
Yeah, man.
One of my favorites, I'll mention it now, National Treasure.
If we have time, though, we'll also cover.
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll cover these 4 main films that we've picked, but we'll mention the others around.
Yeah.
So I wanted to go for my first film would be one that encapsulates the best of Nicolas Cage for me, as this guy who can play a very serious character. But also a very wacky and crazy one, and one where he is totally ridiculous. And for me, there is no film better than Face Off. Oscar, you have not seen Face Off, have you?
No, I haven't.
Shame on you, man. Shame on you.
And I profess myself to be an avid Nicolas Cage fan. Oh, man.
So this was 1997, directed by John Woo. This came in a period where Nicolas Cage, just off his Oscar win from Leaving Las Vegas in '95, he went on this kind of, I'm going to be in every action movie that I can be of the next few years. So in 1996 he had The Rock, which was a Michael Bay movie. Also in 1997 he also had Con Air as well, a film that you adore and love, Oscar. I know. But
Put
for me,
the bunny back in the box.
But for me, Face Off is the one that stands out. Basic premise, you've got Nicolas Cage playing Castor Troy, who's a freelance terrorist, who's a bit crazy as well.
Freelance terrorist.
Freelance terrorist, yeah.
Dope.
Yeah, it was a simpler time in the 1997.
Yeah, definitely.
And you've got John Travolta, also off huge praise following the likes of Pulp Fiction, is playing FBI agent Sean Archer. And Archer has a vendetta against Troy after killing his son in an assassination attempt. And it's like very tragic. So the beginning of the movie, Archer stops Troy from like conducting their like massive terrorist plot that they've got going on. But they learn that there is another plot that needs to be stopped. However, before they can get the information out of him, Nicolas Cage ends up in a coma, and they don't know what to do. However, Castor Troy has a younger brother who also is aware of the plans, but obviously they can't get the information out of him. So, John Travolta, this is where the movie gets really ridiculous.
Yeah.
John Travolta undergoes experimental surgery to replace his face with Nicolas Cage's face. So Sean Archer becomes Castor Troy. And from then on, Nicolas Cage is playing Sean Archer, pretending to be Nicolas Cage.
I think I had a fever dream like this once. I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah. So yeah, he does that and tries to infiltrate the terrorist organization that he's involved in. But meanwhile, while this is all going on, Nicolas Cage Castor Troy now wakes up faceless from his coma. And has no choice but to put on the only face that's in the facility, which of course is John Travolta's. So Castor Troy becomes...
So you're saying
he
literally woke up with his face off.
Yes.
Dun, 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 dun. Yes. Sick,
Yes.
man.
I'm pretending that this is like the greatest movie of all time. It is really good. It's also incredibly stupid when you think about it. But so from this point on, you've got Nicolas Cage playing John Travolta's character pretending to be Nicolas Cage. And you've got John Travolta playing Nicolas Cage pretending to be John Travolta. And it is brilliant because for now, because at the start of the movie, you've got John Travolta is Mr. Serious. For the rest of the movie, he's completely crazy. And it's brilliant to watch because we've seen John Travolta at his craziest. And it is dialed up to 11. And of course, Nick Cage is the complete opposite now. He's very straight-laced.
Yeah.
But every time he interacts with someone who knows Castor Troy, he has to become Castor Troy again. And there are so many fantastic moments, so many great one-liners.
So, of the great one-liners and great scenes, which few specific scenes do you think are important for Nicolas Cage?
For a central Nicolas Cage viewing, there's a scene where he meets up again with his brother and a couple of his old friends who he's having to pretend that he knows them all.
Okay.
And of course, because they're all crazy, they're drinking and taking drugs. And obviously, because he's Sean Archer in real life, he's not used to doing all of this stuff. So he gets completely and utterly
wasted.
Yeah.
Oh no.
And he has a great moment where he does indeed say "face off." He literally goes, they're like, "Oh, so what are you going to do with Sean Archer when you eventually kill him?" And he goes, "Oh, I'm going to take his face off."
And it's the worst. That's the worst. The worst name drop for the title.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty terrible. But the movie kind of acknowledges it because his friends are like, "Okay, no more drugs for this guy. He's clearly on something." But of course, Nick Cage just has a lot of fun with the role. That's probably like one of the essential moments. Best scene in the film is just very quickly after that sequence. There's an FBI raid led, of course, by John Travolta, who's the terrorist in real life. And they're sort of behind on either side of a wall which has a mirror on either side, and they both decide, "Oh, enough of this chat. Let's just try and shoot each other." And of course, they brilliantly turn around. It's framed fantastically. That obviously, when they turn around, they're both pointing the gun at themselves. Whoa. It's a great moment. It has to be seen. It's a very John Woo movie. John Woo, who also directed Mission Impossible 2. Yeah. Which, if you remember, is a lot of that movie is Tom Cruise on a motorbike jumping through explosions while doves are flying around everywhere. And this movie is pretty much that as well. Look, it's a 1997 action movie. You know what you're getting yourself in for when you watch it. I think just have fun with it. And for me, I'd argue it's one of his best films. Yeah. Both performance-wise and as a quality of a film, it's very good. It's a cult classic as well. Yeah. Yeah. That's Face Off, and you should watch it, Oscar. Okay, yes, I should definitely watch it. But okay, so what elements of the film do you think made their performance better? And I think I know what you're going to say. I think there's just the general, Nick Cage gets to play basically 2 or 3 characters. Yeah. And, he gets to do the very serious side to him, which I think he's equally as good at as the crazy side. I think he's just known more for playing outlandish characters. But even in something like Leaving Las Vegas, he can have these very, very dramatic moments. So I think Nick Cage is a master of both. Yeah. And he gets to play both in this movie. Ironically, it's funny because he's credited as Castor Troy, and he only spends about 20 minutes of the movie actually being that character. He actually spends the majority as Sean Archer. Oh, yeah. And obviously the same with John Travolta. But I love it. I think it's great. I think it's essential viewing if you want to watch a Nicolas Cage movie and know what he's about. Yeah. Because you do get everything in this movie for me. And it comes at, I think, the peak of his career. I think this is when he kind of peaked. I think from now, if you look at the rest of his filmography, it starts to go a bit downhill after the 90s. Yeah, no. I think this was him at his peak for me. I mean, he's an Academy Award winner, and he's been nominated twice as well. So just the emotional gymnastics that was necessary for him to be able to pull off a performance like that. Oh yeah. I think that probably merits the fact that this is an excellent film. It's definitely a trend in Hollywood when someone gets nominated for or wins an Oscar. they kind of get cast in every movie that's coming out of the next 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
Even if they are completely ill-suited for the role. I'm just trying to think of an example recently. Like Eddie Redmayne has been one, no one had really seen much of him. He all of a sudden wins his Oscar for The Theory of Everything, isn't it? I think he wins it for. And all of a sudden, he's in Fantastic Beasts. He's in the other one, a Danish girl he got nominated for again. Yeah. He just keeps cropping up in everything.
Yeah.
Same with Cumberbatch as well. Got one nomination for The Imitation Game, and he's just been in everything since.
No, exactly.
So,
yeah.
I think it's a trend. But in Nick Cage, it kind of worked for a few years, and then it started to die down again. So
yeah. Exactly. Okay, so final thing. What do you think was Nick Cage's quintessence in this film? The element of the film that is so closely tied to his identity as an actor.
I think Nick Cage, as I mentioned earlier, always commits to his role. And in this movie, you can see his commitment to every bit.
Yeah.
He is 100% committed to playing all these characters he has to play. He embraces that it is not a totally serious movie.
Yeah.
It is and it isn't when you watch it, and he knows this, and he's embracing that. And he puts a shift in, which is, I think, all you kind of want from an actor.
Okay.
So I'd say that's.
Would you also say that it's maybe his range?
Yeah, his range. This one, you get the full. If you want the full Nick Cage range, you should watch Face Off.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess that leaves me to talk about probably the greatest horror and black comedy film I have ever seen. And it's called Vampire's Kiss. This film was one of it was the most uncomfortable viewing experience I've ever had. And I don't think, unless you're committed to causing yourself pain, I don't think you should watch it, because it will scar you. And I've seen Cannibal Holocaust, okay? So I mean, and that wasn't nearly as shocking to me as this performance and this film.
Yeah. So you're basically saying, if you don't want your soul crushed and scarred for life, you should basically mute for the next 5-10 minutes.
Yeah. No, well, either that or you do and you want the original experience, then definitely do that.
Yeah.
Then go and watch the film first.
I've seen both Paddington movies over the last 2 nights. I don't think, and my soul feels pretty pure right now. So I don't know how this is going to go.
Well, boyo, you're in for a wild ride, dude.
Oscar, can we not scare the listeners away before?
Okay, all right. Well, okay. You've been warned, and if you haven't screwed off by now, then let's begin. So, Nicolas Cage, he plays this literary agent in New York called Peter Lowe, or as he says, Peter Lowe. He speaks with this kind of accent, that reminded him of his father. And his father was a professor of analytical literature or something like that, and it's a very continental sound, man. So he has this stupid accent for the entire film that just gives the performance a whole other level. If I could sum up Vampire's Kiss as a film in one sentence, I'd say it's a really, really retarded version of American Psycho, but in the best way, in that it amplifies everything about the film. Like with American Psycho's message that of the theme of living in a solipsistic hell where you try and break out of the norm subconsciously, but you're stuck in it forever. This film accomplishes that so much better by being over the top than by being subtle. And something I've just figured out now is that American Psycho, both the novel and the film, they came out after Vampire's Kiss. So Peter Lowe, he's a literary agent living in New York, and he's the kind of stereotypical narcissistic, greedy, yuppie scum of the 1980s. He's just terribly unlikable asshole, effectively. So he works all day, and then he goes to clubs at night, and the film starts with him talking to his psychiatrist about how he wants to find Well, he doesn't talk about it, but it's implied that he wants to find a meaningful relationship. He's looking for a way out of this hell that he's living in, where he feels nothing but emptiness, and he just wants to find love. And then he meets this woman at a club. They go back to his, and there are tits in this film, so that's dope. So that's like 2 points for me already. Okay, so they go back to his place, and while they're in the middle of getting it on, this bat flies into their apartment, and he tries to shoo it out, and he's like, "Shoo, shoo, bat, shoo." And like they can't get the bat out, so they run out of the apartment and then go to her place. And then then he goes back to his psychiatrist and he tries to explain what happened. That there was this bat in his apartment, and he was like, "I was stuck in Mortal Kombat with a bat, man." And he says, "Well, I'm fighting this bat off all alone, and I'll be damned if I didn't get really turned on." And that relates to this theme that goes on throughout the entire film of unrequited love and being lonely, like at a very, very deep level, and that's the core issue with his character that goes on throughout the film.
The more and more you describe this, the more and more it sounds like some kind of weird Batman prequel. Not gonna lie, like
this must be confirmed as
this is canon now, right?
Yes,
yeah.
yes. This is the prequel to Tim Burton's Batman, obviously, 100%.
Batman Begins.
Yeah.
Further information redacted.
Redacted.
Redacted. Information redacted.
And after going through such an uncomfortable viewing experience, having that epiphany while watching the last scene, I felt the fear, like that dread that comes from watching great horror. Yeah. So everything paid off there. Sorry, that was very, very long. I hope it was somewhat interesting.
We might need to edit that.
Okay.
Like, because I think that's way too long. That's like 20 minutes of you just describing the plot, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you think, Cal?
I mean, what?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, this is again what I mean by the crazy side of Nick Cage movies. Is some of them are just so bizarre and so weird, and it just you watch it and you're like, what am I watching? And we'll get onto this when it gets to my next film.
Yeah.
A lot. But I from what I understand, this is a good performance from Cage.
It's one of his best.
I mean, I've heard from interviews he's done that he experimented a lot with this movie. It's one of his early films, I think, as well.
Yeah.
So This is tough to judge, really, because in some ways this is everything Nick Cage represents.
Yeah.
To some people, but that might be jarring for a lot of people, like myself. I just trying to listen to you describe that movie, I'm already very creeped out and disturbed, which I think is what they're going for.
That's the thing.
But
it's sorry for interrupting, but I mean that's the thing about it, is that I discovered this film through watching like meme compilations of Nick Cage,
the same.
And watching the scenes out of context is hilarious because you don't understand what's actually happening in the film. But once you see everything in its proper sequence of events, you understand that there's this pathetic, spiteful, cruel man who is going through one of the worst fates imaginable. He's a lot like if you've ever read Death of a Salesman or Streetcar Named Desire.
Yeah.
That's definitely Tennessee Williams. But Death of a Salesman, Willie Loman, who, Peter Lowe, Willie Loman, they have similar names as well. And that's meant to symbolize Willie Loman being like a low man, having a low status in society as a door-to-door salesman. So there might be a connection there. I don't know. But they have the same problem in that Willie Loman, he suffers from intense delusion, but he manages to find a way out of it, whereas Peter Lowe, he's trapped in it. It's all bad, all around. And I think the elements of the film that made his performance amazing are really loose directorial style that they had on the film and everything like that, which allowed him to experience his full range. And I think that to quickly finish this off, because I've already spent way too much time on this, we still have some time left on the recording.
We
don't
can
worry.
edit stuff, don't worry.
The quintessence of this film is Nick Cage's incredible experimentation and his love for the dual energies, as he puts it, of comedy and horror, which are inherent in any portrayal of insanity. So I think that he does that incredibly well with his overacting, but then also his incredible energy and his emotional range, where he can do subtler parts in films, and when that's juxtaposed against his bombastic overacting, that can have a very specific horrific effect. But yeah, I've already spent too much time on this. Okay, Cal, let's move on to the next one.
Oh boy, I've actually been dreading this part of the podcast.
Oh no.
Yeah, I have. Unfortunately, it's only fair we do the good and the bad of any actor or director that we cover on this podcast. We've covered the good in Face Off. I think the good as well in Vampire's Kiss.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, now it is time to cover the bad.
Okay.
Again, Nick Cage has a lot of sort of badly received films, but there's only one that I think we could have gone for, and that is The Wicker Man. Oh boy,
the big one.
Okay, here's the deal. This movie is viewed generally as a so bad it's good movie.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I cannot agree with that. This movie is just terrible. I know why. I know why people think this is hilariously good. It really is. It's uncomfortable to watch. You thought Vampire's Kiss was bad. This is worse for me,
mate. Okay, all right. We'll have some words about that after.
Yes,
but yeah.
So obviously, okay. First off, this is a remake. What was wrong with the original? We'll get this a lot. Remakes are bad in general. I think we can mostly agree. Very few of them are actually any good. The 1973 version, which starred Christopher Lee, is a classic. Many people will say it's one of the scariest movies of all time.
Yeah.
It's very impactful. Has a very interesting message, but there's interesting ideas about paganism and Christianity thrown in there. This movie doesn't have any of that. It's mainly about sexism, and not done in a good way at all. How do I even start this? Okay, Nick Cage is playing a police officer called Edward Malice. I can't even. This is how much I don't care about this movie.
Fair.
I really don't. He is a police officer, and he is trying to find a girl that has gone missing, and he has to go to this kind of very isolated island in the middle of nowhere, where everyone is living very old-fashioned lives. But like if you've seen M. Night Shyamalan's The Village, everyone's in this kind of I don't know what century it is really.
Yeah, pre-industrial.
Yeah, pre-industrial kind of life. Everything revolves around their honey as well that they're trying to produce.
Killing me won't bring back your goddamn honey.
Oh my god.
The best.
It's out of all the movies I think that have the most memeable Nick Cage moments, this is it. We have that moment there. There is I can't do it justice because I can't do the Nick Cage voice, but at one stage, this was actually a deleted scene which they put back in the movie, I think.
Oh, is it the bike?
There is the bike, but I'll get to that in a bit.
All right, okay.
There is the bit right towards the end where they are torturing him with bees. And he's like, what is this? What is this? Oh god, not the bees! Not the bees!
It's amazing.
Obviously he does it in his Nick Cage voice, which I can't pull off. But the one good thing I like about Wicker Man is Nick Cage's character acts and says things that the audience would say.
Yeah.
So there is a point where I think it's like he goes to a school, and inside one of the desks is a bird, and he opens the desk and the bird flies out. It's like, why is there a bird in there?
That is very fair.
And the kids are like, oh, we were going to see how long it could live while it's in this desk. And he just turns around to his teacher and he goes, now why would they do a sick thing like that? And it's like, yeah, why would they?
Yeah.
It's really stupid, this movie. He has the bike scene, you mentioned it. He's threatening someone to get off their bike.
Step away from the bike. Amazing.
No, this movie is going for scary, and it just comes off stupid.
Yeah.
There are so many dream sequences. I was going to try and count them when I rewatched it.
Oh,
I lost count.
Okay.
Because he has
good
moments where, you think it's normal. And the scene goes on for like 10 minutes. Then all of a sudden it's like, oh, but it was a dream. And there's other bits again where, he's sitting down somewhere and then he sees the girl right next to him.
Oh, yeah.
And then all of a sudden it cuts away and it's back to him just sitting normally and the girl's not there. And then it cuts away again and he's like back in bed, waking up. And I'm like, what is this? I mean, back to what the plot is. He's trying to find this girl. Everyone on the island, including the mother of the girl who he knows, like she's a former girlfriend of his from the mainland. And she's like, oh, this girl doesn't exist. Why are you here? And it's very stupid. All the men on the island as well are basically simpletons and don't understand anything.
Like breeding stock.
Yeah, they're breeding stock. Yeah, it's very disturbing, this movie. But it's very stupid. I've used that word too many times now. Yeah. It's stupid that I've used the word stupid so many times, but that's literally the only way you can describe this movie.
Maybe that's its quintessence.
It is its quintessence. When we get to actually assembling this movie, we just need stupid bits.
Exactly.
Stupid scenes and stupid one-liners need to be in this.
100%. But what element? So sorry. I mean, just to structure this.
Please get me off this horrible movie. Hurry this bit up, please.
I will. So what elements of the film do you think made Nick Cage's performance better? Because
I mean, his performance is terrible. Like this is because
what emphasized the elements in his performance that we're gonna.
I think. I mean, the story is stupid. Okay, I'm not going to use the word stupid.
Moronic.
The story is moronic. The dialogue is written so poorly. There is, I can't even mention my favourite quote from the movie. He arrives on the island, and at one stage, he walks past some people, and they've got this very bloody bag that they're carrying, and they're by the docks.
I think I know.
And
this.
I kid you not, he goes, "What's in the bag?" Fairly reasonable question. Then he goes, "A shark or something?" A shark! There is a shark! Oh, Jesus. What is going on? Yeah, this movie completely misses the mark. It's going for creepiness, and it just comes off as comedy.
Yeah. Awful.
I hate it. I fully understand why people think it's so good it's bad. It makes perfect sense to me. I just don't have that opinion because I just don't like it. In the end, long story short, the girl has existed all this time. And what they're actually trying to do is they're trying to make him their sacrifice because their harvest is doing really badly. And they need their honeybees to come back or something. Some stupid thing like that.
Okay.
And basically they torture him. And again, the torture scenes, we mentioned the bees bit. There's a bit before where his knees are getting pounded in and he's being held down by all the women. He eventually gets put in the famous Wicker Man structure, which is then burnt alive by the girl who he was trying to find. And the thing is, I was trying to think, why on earth did they go through this whole process of he needs to find this girl and he spends 2 hours of movie time trying to do it and then it's utterly worthless? Why didn't they just sacrifice him straight away? It's never explained. There's so many... They set up so many things in this movie. Even before he gets to the island, there's a whole subplot about a family he didn't save. And he's having to, have self-help tapes. And none of it's, relevant. It's just there.
Okay.
Whereas, when you look back at the original Wicker Man, which I haven't seen, but I've read the plot of, they actually kept him around because they were trying to make sure he was the perfect sacrifice. And there were 4 requirements. One was he had to play the fool, he had to play the law, he had to play... There were 4 requirements. And they were doing the whole missing girlfriend as a test to see if he would actually fulfill all of these requirements.
Well, that
which
seems
he
reasonable.
did.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, reasonable
As like
not,
a plot.
as a plot,
Yeah.
they were trying to make sure he was the perfect sacrifice because they believe they sacrifice the perfect person, their harvest will get better and all of that.
Yeah.
This movie doesn't have that. They're just doing it because, they need a man to do it. And this guy clearly isn't going to be dumbed down. Like, there really is no point to this movie.
Okay. So then, what is the quintessence of the film then? What is
the quintessence in one word? It's stupid. And this is
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah! It's so bad. Nick Cage can't rescue this. He's been in bad movies, but he, as I mentioned before, he generally gets you through them. Mm. I think even in this, he really struggled to. You can tell he's committed. He is trying to put effort into this. Unfortunately, it just comes out in all the wrong ways. There really isn't much more to say. Yeah. I implore you, please don't watch this movie.
I won't.
No, you have already. You.
But never again. No,
never
I won't.
Again. No, I purely did it because I had to do this podcast.
Yeah.
It was fun rewatching it though. You do notice things you haven't noticed before. This movie has 2 surprise cameos from big name actors. Do you know who they are? That's the question. Aaron Eckhart is in this.
What?
And James Franco is in this.
Playing who?
Aaron Eckhart is right at the beginning of the movie. He is credited as truck stop patron. James Franco is right at the end of the movie and is credited as bar guy number 1.
Yeah.
No idea.
All right.
Yeah. No idea why
is. Well then. Okay. So let's put the quintessence of this film as stupid number 1 and. It has to have big name actors in like extra
surprise
roles.
Cameos,
yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
No, that's dope. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well then. Ooh. Okay. Now I'm gonna get on to Mandy.
Please do not go into spoilers for this.
No, never. I'm gonna be pretty brief. I'm gonna be pretty brief with Mandy, but because if it's still out in theaters near you, go watch this film. I think this is some of Nick Cage's best work that he's ever done. Because you have his serious films like, mildly serious films like Leaving Las Vegas, which, I mean, that was his Oscar win. Then you have his ridiculous films, like Wicker Man, Face Off, Vampire's Kiss, all that jazz. But Mandy manages to marry those two sides of him together. So he has the room and the space in this film to play a really serious, subdued character at first, who is quite likable, but not for the normal reasons that we like Nick Cage in films, because he's Nick Cage, right? But you can kind of take his mythos away from him for the most part in this film. But he also explores this deep insanity, where he does, go more and more insane as the film progresses, because terrible things happen to him and everything like that. But that's all I'm going to say about it. So the things about Mandy that I love is that there are going to be some, like, these aren't really spoilers because they don't they won't affect your experience watching the film for the first time. Not really. I mean, if you know that these things exist, then you're still going to be able to witness them and experience them yourself and understand, like, that is kind of what they're like, or maybe have a completely different interpretation entirely. So anyway, during the intro of the film, one thing that's incredibly impressive about this film is how tightly it's written. The writing is amazing, because and I think the best example of this is that they set up the chemistry and the main romantic relationship in the film between Nick Cage's character Red and his wife Mandy, who's titular name. They set up their chemistry and relationship in a very, very believable way in 2 scenes. 2 scenes of, like, maybe a total runtime of 2.5 minutes or something like that. And when you look at a lot of modern films that have come out recently and that are very popular, they can't set up a relationship for shit. like even through their entire runtime. But that's a testament to both how tightly written this film is, and also to the incredible skill of Nicolas Cage and I think Andrea Riseborough. Yes, that's her name. The female lead, as their characters. That they have chemistry on set, and they can create that connection. So that's dope. That's so cool. And then the cinematography in the film is gorgeous. It's like you take Blade Runner 2049 and mix it with Twin Peaks. They use film grain as a stylistic feature, which is basically when you try and film something and there isn't enough light, so then you have the static effect on the screen. They use that as a feature to distinguish between these two different realms of reality, the like kind of normal world, the equilibrium in the story, and then the weird different dimension that they go to. And all of this is in the trailer, so it's not like this isn't spoilers. So that's fantastic. And their use of color as well, and color symbolism, red and blue and kind of surreal, like in a surrealist way, is fantastic. And then in the 3-act, like this film has a very distinct 3-act structure, and that's reinforced by the fact that so you can see elements of inspiration from heavy metal rock, like in terms of album covers, and also like the themes that are explored in the films, and also from cosmic horror. One thing that they use one element that they use to divide up the film in a cohesive way is they have like titles for the 3 acts that you see that are kind of like album covers in themselves that kind of pop up, and then you see things from a new character's perspective. And in any other film that would be kind of janky and it wouldn't work as well, but it really, really works well because it fits in with the entire subjectivist reality theme that they're going for, and the whole concept that they're trying to explore here. Ooh, what else do I have to say about it that won't completely break your immersion into the film? I think that's about it. Well, no, I mean, okay. So then the character of Red Miller, which is Nicolas Cage's character, it's really, really, he has a really cool character because he's like a lumberjack. He's not particularly articulate, but he's someone who cares deeply for Mandy, who's kind of very literally like damaged goods in the film. She has a big scar on her face, and she's an artist, and she's very creative and kind of spiritual in that low-key way. So she has a connection to this parallel dimension that is further explored in the film through her creativity and her art. And Nick Cage, he plays this. If any of you have ever listened to Rush, he plays this very, very kind of Tom Sawyer-esque hero, or like the working man-esque hero. And I seriously think that they've taken some inspiration from those two songs, because it's very much what he comes to embody. And my last thing that I want to talk about is there's another scene in the film where Nick Cage, he's been through some incredible trauma, and he's very clearly in shock. Sorry, Red, I mean. And he goes into the bathroom, and there's this single take, which is maybe 3 or 4 minutes long, where Nick Cage goes through all of the cycles of grief and like 4 or 5 other variant emotions that are tangentially related in that scene, and it all feels incredibly organic. It's fantastic. It's such a work of emotional acrobatics that he does there, where you go through all of the emotions that his character is going through with him. And even though we understand as an audience from that fourth dimensional perspective, oh man, that, this is Nick Cage, he is an actor. And it could be quite funny if you keep that in the forefront of your mind. He's just like, he's the meme guy, right? But if you take it on face value, it's a bloody fantastic performance. Yeah. Well, yeah, that's all I have to say about Mandy.
Blimey.
Yeah. Oh,
So what does Mandy and Nick Cage's performance in the film sort of bring to our ultimate Cage movie?
I would say, actually, that it is as close to an Ultimate Cage movie as we have currently. But I think the quintessence that makes that so in this film is, I'd say it's the perfect setting. It's the perfect setting and perfect direction and perfect narrative for Nick Cage as an actor, where it allows him to explore both of those sides of himself, where he can be bombastic and utterly insane, and then also give a subdued, kind of somber performance where we can really feel for him. So it needs to be a setting where there are two different worlds, where there are two different states of being that he can inhabit. Yeah, so I'd say that's the quintessence.
Very good.
Yeah, thank you, man.
And so that concludes our 4 big movies. Then.
Yeah. Whew.
Oh, Face Off, Vampire's Kiss, The
Kiss.
Wicker Man, and Mandy.
Yeah.
The ultimate 4 Nick Cage movies.
Yeah, and we say that not because his other films are particularly terrible or, not worthy of mention. It's just that
these were the 4 that stood out to us.
Yeah, in terms of there was something that could very, very clearly be defined.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's... If we do a quick rundown of other films, I say very quick, like... Honorable mentions, like, with Face Off...
Oh, yeah.
I could have easily have said Con Air or The Rock.
Yeah.
The Rock is great. Both movies produced by Jerry Bruckheimer, who's worked also with Gone in 60 Seconds and both National Treasure movies.
Yeah.
Again, both of those could have made the list. I do love me some National Treasure. A movie that Cage admits was not meant to be as popular as it was. He said they had no plans for a sequel, but then it made... First movie made $347.5 million.
Yeah.
Second one made even more than that, nearly $500 million.
Yeah.
And they may be doing a third one. They've talked about it for ages.
Okay.
Because the second one ends with, there could be a third one. But they're still trying to work out a way to do it.
Yeah, I don't know. He's getting a little bit old now, so I mean, they've got to kind of pick up the pace.
Yeah. Well, in the film, his dad is played by John Voight, so maybe we need Nick Cage is going to take that role in the next one.
Oh, maybe
a younger version, like a younger Nick Cage.
I don't know if I like that though, because that's
Nick Cage is
so corporate.
Well, Nick Cage is the mentor figure now. He's done that in a few movies. Did it in Kick-Ass as well, which could have made the list.
They did that in Indiana Jones, and that was an absolute shit show.
That's the cast Shia LaBeouf.
No, that is fair.
And Harrison Ford doesn't care anymore these days.
Yeah.
Man.
He's
5 is
constantly stoned, man, I bet. But anyway, this isn't about him.
Yeah. That's for another podcast.
Yes, indeed.
Yes.
So I think some honorable mentions are obviously Ghost Rider and Ghost Rider: Spirit of Vengeance, where those films are only worth watching for Cage's performance and nothing else.
If that, yeah.
Yeah, if that. Honestly, Lord of War as well is a much less well known Nick Cage film. It's not as it's more mediocre, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But it's got some interesting subject matter, and he's an international smuggler, an arms dealer, effectively.
It's a very good film. I had a lot of fun watching it. It's much more straight-laced than that.
The intro sequence is god tier. It's amazing.
One of the best.
So check that out on YouTube after you've seen this. Cause
also endorsed by Amnesty International, the movie. They said
really?
They praised it. They said it's a little exaggerated in places.
Yeah.
But and I think the problem is it tries to do too much, this movie. It tries to cover all the angles of arms dealing.
Yeah.
I would be up for a Lord of War television series on HBO or something where they went
a mini series, like a 3-parter or something like that.
Where you could actually explore the different types of arms dealers and stuff.
No,
but the film is still very good, pretty informative.
Yeah.
The ending I think is brilliant as well.
Same.
With Ethan Hawke, and I won't spoil it, but he basically says this is what's going to happen. And of course it does. And
it's like a real Kaiser Soze moment.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah, bit of a gut punch, but it's well worth a watch, I think.
Yeah. You've also got Raising Arizona, Sorcerer's Apprentice.
Love that movie.
I could put that on in the background and just have that to
naturally, it's a fun movie.
It's a fun little film. It's not terribly well made.
It fits into the Disneyfication of Nick Cage that began with National Treasure.
Yeah.
When he's just trying to do family-friendly stuff, which I love.
Yeah, exactly.
Other movies, Knowing is a movie that I kind of like. It's a bit divisive, actually. Remember?
I've never seen it.
Yeah, basically.
Oh no! Like we talked about this like 3 times. God damn it!
Yeah, basic premise: he finds something in a time capsule that seems to predict natural disasters that have been occurring.
Yeah.
It gets a bit ridiculous at points. Like it's a bit kind of really at moments, but it's enjoyable enough. Nick Cage does well enough in it. Roger Ebert loved it. The late great Roger Ebert. It was one of his best movies of the year. When 2009 that was. So that says something about the quality of films that year, I think.
Yeah.
But I don't know. But no, he's got such a good filmography.
Very prolific filmography.
Yeah, very prolific. Well, yeah. Like it was very hard to narrow it down to these 4. Yeah. I think
there are also many films that we haven't given any honorable mention to because they frankly don't deserve them. Many kind of recent straight-to-TV films that he's done that are just absolute garbage. Yeah. And this is a celebration of Nick Cage, okay? This isn't meant to be us like pissing all over him, all right? Yeah. So I mean, there's a very, very good video essay on YouTube by Ralph Seppi that goes over Nicolas Cage's terrible, terrible films. So if you want to know more about that, go and take a look at that.
I mean, we said we weren't going to piss on him, and then we did Wicker Man. So I mean,
well, no, but like, look,
look,
that was unavoidable.
Yeah. But no, I get that. I mean, if you go on Amazon Prime, half the movies available to him are about star Nicolas Cage came out in the last 5 years, and I've never heard of any of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, but maybe with Mandy, he's making a comeback now. And,
indeed.
I hope so.
We've had long discussion about this, fraught with arguments, and we reduced each other to tears multiple times, but it's Nick Cage, so it's worth it. Okay, so we are mashing together all of the different quintessences into the ultimate Nick Cage movie now. I hope you guys are strapped in, because this is going to be a fucking ride.
I think you've just seen, what's it, Gone in 60 Seconds, where, he listens to Lowrider, and this friend goes, okay, let's ride.
Yeah, okay, let's ride. Tony, Lowrider. Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. Anyway, so of the of the different quintessences that we have mentioned, the ones that we're going to be using are first one. There need to be 2 worlds, or like split personalities of Nick Cage or characters that play off one another. Yeah. Preferably both, right? Mm-hmm. It must be stupid in some fashion and memeable. There has to be a really just dumb element of it.
Yeah.
And then needs to be room for a full range of crazy Nick Cage to straight-laced Nick Cage, so that plays into the split personalities part of it and the stupidity of it. But it doesn't necessarily need to be like a fully dumb film, just like unintentionally dumb in some ways.
If there's dumb bits, it's done in a way that it is funny to watch and very entertaining to watch.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Then we also need to let Nick Cage's experimental and eccentric side have free reign, like in Vampire's Kiss, where it turned into a very ambiguous film, as we all know now. And then the narrative, cinematography, and direction need to be fully devoted to connecting to Nick Cage's character symbolically. Mm-hmm. So in terms of the art style, say we could have color changes and changes in framing to represent his mental state and stuff like that. But some stuff that's not particularly subtle, but can be identified by even the most layman of an audience member.
Yeah. Just stuff that kind of complements what he's doing on
exactly.
screen, really.
Yeah, exactly that. Okay, so what genre are we going with, my man?
I think it's fair to say, he's played in a variety of genres. I think we need to go for some kind of like psychological thriller, though. I think that plays best into what he does.
Yeah.
And I think many of his roles are character studies. I think this genre would lean into that. However, as we mentioned before, he is unintentionally very funny. So there needs to be some very unintentional humor in the movie. Stuff that isn't played for laughs, but could be if interpreted in a different way.
Oh, man. How do you engineer something unintentionally? You can't. It's still...
Well, I would ask Nicolas Cage, because he clearly manages to do it on a daily basis. And I also feel that, we need to address the more action side of Nick Cage's films.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. We've got to have him doing rad backflips and
absolutely. I want slow motion. I want explosions,
mowing down hordes of enemies like old boy style with a hammer. Yeah, exactly. I think that's fair. I'm all for that, but I'd like to have a more abstract element of cosmic horror and comedy. Kind of tangentially relating to the setting, but not necessarily the character development.
I think the problem we have here, this is when we're gonna start to largely disagree on this podcast.
Come on, don't shout at me.
I feel that I don't think this is how I see it. I don't think Nick Cage and the directors he works with set out to make ridiculous movies.
Yeah.
I think they just end up going that way. So I think we need to pitch something that is not, not normal, but, something that's not too outlandish, but only through Nick Cage's performance and only through the direction that you were mentioning, only through that does it become this kind of ridiculous movie that we're going to be watching here.
Yeah.
Because I feel, I'm just trying to think, because the way you were mentioning about having the cinematography and the lighting and everything, complementing the actors, that always brings me back to Edgar Wright. If you break down his films are very simplistic, but it's his direction and it's the way he writes and it's the way he frames everything that makes them special and makes them much more unique than they have any right to be.
Yeah.
Shaun of the Dead is a standard zombie movie. When you break it down. Yeah. But it's because of all the stuff he puts in, everything from the little bits of dialogue where they're foreshadowing the entire movie in 10 seconds.
Yeah, and when they're trying to kill the zombie for the first time, throwing vinyls at it and trying to figure stuff. Yeah. No, that's
stuff like that. I think is what makes those movies great. And what makes Nick Cage movies great is that you can take a very simple premise. A guy trades places with his arch nemesis to try and fool a terrorist plots. That seems, there's 100 movies about that. But it's the way that Nick Cage and the directors he works with, the writers he works with, make it into something very unique and very special and something that should not work, but it does work. So I think that's the angle we need to go with this.
I agree. And I think that's because it plays into that it all of it hangs together, like he's the linchpin.
Yeah, exactly.
In that whole equation.
Yeah. So you want to start with something fairly good and then just let Nick Cage work his magic on it.
Okay. So it shouldn't be intentionally comedic.
It should not be intentionally comedic. It shouldn't be intentionally over the top.
All right.
Because I feel that when they do try to do that, that's when the worst movies come about.
Now, you haven't seen Mandy yet, but I think the cosmic horror aspect of it can really work.
Okay.
Yeah, because
I'm happy to stick a little bit of that in.
Yeah, because I think that's. I don't want to spoil it though, but there are scenes in Mandy where Nick Cage uses his he is being intentionally comedic, but to us it's like, is he just doing this randomly? Is this something that was planned? That's what it feels like. So that's where it does work.
Okay.
To a certain extent. I can't say for what because it's spoilery as hell. But yeah. Okay. No. So, psychological thriller with action and a little bit of cosmic horror, just kind of like
horror, a little bit of unintentional humor as well.
Yes. Yeah.
But that all that good stuff just flows naturally.
Dope.
Nicolas Cage. Yeah.
Who's the director? Who's going to be directing this masterpiece?
He doesn't have a regular director that he works with. He's worked with a lot of people.
He's super eclectic.
I only have 2 requests.
No.
One, is that all action sequences are directed by John Woo.
Yep.
Because I feel that kind of, late 90s slow motion explosions, where you shoot someone, they go flying back like 50 yards.
The doves! We need doves!
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I think that really fits in. And you look at the other films he's worked on, Con Air is the same.
Yeah.
The Rock was directed by Michael Bay, the king of explosions and slow-mo.
And it was actually, it's actually a good film. It's a fun film.
It's his best movie.
Yeah.
This was when Michael Bay could actually make some good films. Except now, where he just makes, Transformers 9, Revenge of the
Last Knight Who Fell, Cybertron.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh God. Let's not do a Michael Bay podcast.
No, maybe not.
But yeah, I want John Woo for the action sequences.
Yeah.
And Jerry Bruckheimer has to produce it.
That is also fair.
Yes, because he has done, I think, 5 or 6 Nick Cage movies.
And then Jerry Bruckheimer, he could, like in Con Air, he could probably get in contact with John Malkovich and Steve Buscemi and put them in the film too.
Well, I feel that we need to keep sticking in these, really good, not like A-listers necessarily, but these, big actors when you see them, you're like, oh, look, it's that.
That reminds me of one of the quintessences that we talked about that I forgot to mention. So we have to have the A-listers in like cameos or extra roles. Yes.
So I think
Fantastic.
I think we can include Malkovich.
Yeah.
I think we can include Ed Harris, who's been the villain in 2 Nick Cage movies.
Let's make it a round 3.
Yeah,
man.
he was the villain in.
Hell yeah.
He was the villain in The Rock. He was the villain in National Treasure: Book of Secrets. Let's make this
the Nick Cage mythos, man. It's like it's growing now.
Yeah,
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then for director, I think I'm really partial towards Bong Joon-ho.
Okay.
And if you don't know him, he directed Snowpiercer with Chris Evans. Chris Evans in the lead, and John Hurt as a supporting character.
Good movie.
Basically, like apocalypse has happened. The last remnants of humanity are stuck on a train that's going around the Earth constantly, and it's this ice apocalypse. So everyone on the train, there's like this whole societal structure, like class structure, and it's very interestingly filmed. Excellent film. And I think wasn't it Bong Joon-ho who also did the Old Boy, the original Korean Old Boy film?
I couldn't
just
say
check
sure.
that actually.
You've got the laptop, you can fact check that.
Old Boy.
That's a great choice. The other alternative, of course, would be...
that was Park Chan. You see, people are going to call me such a bloody racist now. But actually, if you watch Old Boy and Snowpiercer, the fight, like the corridor fight in Old Boy, where the protagonist, I can't remember what his name was, has the hammer and he beat like he fends off these waves of guys. That's very, very similar to another scene in Snowpiercer, and the whole film is like corridor like. So I think Bong Joon-ho would be great because he's really good at having these secret abstract elements in his films that you only get to if you dig deep enough. Like, okay, fan theory here, fan theory time. A fan theory that I read a while ago. So Snowpiercer is basically a remake of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. No, it's a sequel. It's a sequel to Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Oh, is it? So it's Charlie and the Great Glass Elevator.
Yeah. No, it's post
it's
that.
A secret. Oh, yeah. A secret third. Charlie.
Yeah, exactly. And it's
Charlie in the train that travels around the world in the snow apocalypse.
Exactly, 100%. So yeah, I think Bong Joon-ho's great. Also, Guillermo del Toro, perhaps.
Del Toro maybe, but then I feel that if Del Toro does a film, it has to have Ron Perlman in it. And we've already got Ed Harris and John Malkovich. I don't really know.
Why not? Well, you know what? Why not? Ron Perlman, he can be in that fucking film.
He sounds like a great director.
Yes.
Let's go with him.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Bong Joon-ho.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's directing.
His style as well. I mean, it really plays for Nick Cage as well because he's got these ridiculous elements. Anyway. Okay.
Perfect. Cool. Okay.
Now,
so that's the crew, and that's most of the cast assembled.
Yeah.
We can keep adding in random actors we think of.
100%. Yes.
Yeah.
So, what's the plot then?
Okay. Nick Cage is an alcoholic.
Yeah.
That's a must.
Yes.
Like, leaving Las Vegas, just like everything, even if he isn't drunk.
Wicker Man as well, he was an alcoholic, right? Or was he just...
He was I think he was, actually, yeah. He was listening to self-help tapes, so he probably was at some stage.
Oh.
But Nick Cage is a character, an alcoholic, who probably needs a lot of help in his life, but doesn't know how to receive such help.
Yeah.
I think that's his basic character.
Okay, fantastic. And let's say he's trying to go straight. He's trying to get clean. Yeah, but then obviously he doesn't know what he's doing. And for some reason he doesn't have anyone. He doesn't have a support network to reach out to. So let's say like his wife has divorced him. He's living alone in a tiny shitty apartment somewhere. What's his profession going to be? Let's say he's a cop.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's a
detective.
Yeah, he's a hard-boiled detective.
Yeah. He's been through a lot in his life.
And his partner is Bruce Campbell.
Oh my God.
Of Evil Dead fame. No, come on.
Okay,
wait, hear me out. Because
Oscar.
No, it's perfect. It's perfect because look, like Bruce okay, things Nick Cage and Bruce Campbell they have in common. Massive egos, lovely guys, but like they know that they're hot shit. Mandy is like something I forgot to say about Mandy is that it's effectively it's effectively Evil Dead on massive doses of speed and LSD. That's effectively what it is. It's so dope, literally. And I think Bruce Campbell has that kind of unintentional or semi-intentional humor about him as well. They could play off one another really well.
I'd rather go with someone like Malkovich or Travolta as his partner. I really would. But
why?
I just Bruce Campbell.
Have you even seen Evil Dead?
No, but I know of.
Oh
hey,
no!
You haven't seen Face Off, so you can't argue.
Okay,
here.
fine. All right, fine.
Okay, I mean, I think you know what. I'm not going to argue. Let's have Bruce Campbell.
Sick.
But
okay.
Only because he hasn't worked with Bruce Campbell before, and he doesn't tend to work with the same actors a lot.
So then how about
with Bruce Campbell?
Yeah, so then he's going into work and then Bruce Campbell is set up as he's the funny guy. He's like Nick Cage is playing it completely straight. He's in a shit situation. Bruce Campbell is the comedic relief for now. For now.
Okay.
So that we can reverse the roles later. And then they're on a case, they're investigating this cult that in the middle of like say Chicago, let's say.
Yeah, the cult works.
Yeah. Okay. Which is weird. It's kind of set up in this ghetto. There's a really old church that was there before the ghetto even was there, and they're gonna go on a police raid. Or no. Actually, okay, they're going just by themselves, with no backup, and they get to the church and they realize like something's terribly wrong. Maybe the windows are smashed in. Yeah. They go in, they hear chanting coming from this great stone basement that looks like it predates the city.
Yeah. And they're chanting, "Give us our honey! Give us our honey!" Yeah. Like...
Killing me won't bring back your goddamn honey! Yes.
Can that actually be in the movie?
We could have them like chanting it in Latin or something like that, or Sumerian.
Yeah, okay, in Latin they're chanting, bring back the honey.
Yeah, sick. Yes, okay, dope. They both go down, and they see like this great stone chamber with a big pool in the middle full of blood or some murky liquid.
Yeah. This is rated 15, I assume.
Oh yeah. Okay. And there are like armed guards everywhere with like AKs and machetes and stuff like that. One of them tries to call for backup, but there's no signal. Nick Cage, he makes an impulsive decision because he's like, fuck it, I have nothing to live for. They go in, they manage to kill everyone in this incredible display of John Woo-esque action. That's like
the slow-mo. This is where
exactly. You see, yes.
Oh, so there would be doves.
Oh my god, like blood doves, like demon doves, man. No. Okay. No, it's much funnier if it's just white doves.
Just make it the normal.
They're
white
keeping
doves.
Around.
Let's keep it.
No, that's where the blood in the pool comes from because they're sacrificing these doves. So they've got these cages of doves. Hear me out.
Oh, wait. No. I've just worked this out. So Nick Cage's job in this movie is to save the doves. He's got to save the doves. It doesn't matter anything else. He's got to save these doves.
And that's a really good time to mention our sponsor for this episode. So we're being sponsored by Dove.
Yes.
You know,
buy
get clean.
Soap. Buy their soap. Yeah.
Get clean at Dove.
Yes.
You dirty boy
I used
or
Dove this
girl.
morning.
We're not sexist. So then that happens. They knock over the dove cages in their fight, and then the doves are everywhere.
Yeah.
They manage to kill everyone somehow in like this incredible amount of luck.
Yes.
They think. And they're both like, oh, holy shit, how the hell did we survive that? And the doves might have something to do with it, so they distract some of the guards, and then Bruce Campbell picks up an AK and makes a boomstick reference from Evil Dead. And then...
I get the feeling you just want Bruce Campbell in this so you can make Evil Dead references.
No, but hey now, that's not such... First of all, that's not such a bad thing. Okay, there need to be more Evil Dead references out there. Second of all, it's because... Yeah, no, you're actually right.
Yeah, no, I am right.
Man,
we've wasted 10 minutes of your time.
No, but it's not a waste, though.
No, it's a good. No, it
oh
sounds
my God.
Good so far.
Okay, all right. Well, let's. And then after all the carnage is done,
Yes.
the blood pool starts to rumble and bubble, and then out of it rises, Terminator-like, a naked Ed Harris.
Okay,
And he's
I'm
like-
going to stop you there.
Come on.
I think we need to lessen the supernatural side of this, Finn. Because I think the great thing about Nick Cage movies is you think something supernatural is happening, but actually it's not. And it's all just in his head.
Yeah.
And I feel that, as we've discussed, it's when they try to make something bonkers crazy, does it become actually worse than it's meant to be.
You haven't seen Mandy yet, dude.
I know, but that's just one film. We're talking about a whole filmography here.
I know, but...
And I feel that as much as that's funny, I do want to kind of make a realistic-ish film.
Yeah.
So me, I
But
don't know.
what about knowing, huh? I mean, come on.
Yeah, but this is what my point is. The more supernatural that movie got, the worse it got. The whole I'm going to spoil knowing for you now.
All right.
For the whole film, these basically Slender Men, kind of like lookalikes, are stalking Nick Cage and his son, and they're giving the son these black pebbles consistently.
Jeez.
And it turns out these guys are aliens. And they, before the apocalypse occurs and kills everyone on Earth, they take away Nick Cage's son and all these other children who are basically going to restart the human race on another planet.
Okay.
And it gets a little bit preachy, and there's a bit of an Adam and Eve vibe about it. And that to me is when the movie kind of lost me. Because I was kind of intrigued. It's like, why? Because he discovers this artifact, which has all these clues on it.
Okay.
And he's trying to work out what it is, why is it? And it's aliens at the end.
Okay. Yeah, no, I get that.
So I feel the less supernatural we make it, the better. But we can have supernatural elements in it, but we don't know if they're real or not.
I'm going to argue for a slightly different approach.
Okay.
In that, so Ed Harris, he's this demon character.
Yeah, no,
and this whole intro part, this is one of two parts of the film only that have supernatural elements in them.
Yeah.
In the world. So effectively, what Ed Harris, Demon Master, is going to do is he's like, yo, okay, I engineered causality to get you guys to come here to this church and sacrifice all these dudes. Now that you've sacrificed them, I can rise and I can take my place on Earth. You guys will be my horsemen here. Here are these gifts. And they're both feeling, Bruce and Nick are feeling very, very conflicted about this. They're like, wow, okay, well, first of all, thanks, but
what the hell's
why?
going on?
What the hell? Yeah, exactly. And then they manage to escape the church somehow. Like they try and shoot at Ed Harris, and he's like, dude, I'm the opposite of God. Like what can you do to me? And then it starts to collapse or something like that, and they run out. And then that's the last of a world element that's supernatural that we see. Yeah. And then Bruce Campbell and Nick Cage, they get these kind of pseudo paranormal powers, but ones that are like they can affect causality. So Bruce Campbell has.
I'm going to stop you there.
Okay.
I think that's a clever idea, but I don't want to get, again, this is now going to be a supernatural thing, and I don't think we should go that way. I think if this is a psychological thriller, as we're saying, I think a better idea would be that he says, I'm going to give you these abilities, but he doesn't, but they think that they do.
Oh.
In a bit like you were talking about.
That's even better.
Like a bit in a Vampire's Kiss way, where he's not really sure if he's a vampire.
Yes.
And we're not sure if he's a vampire.
I fully support that,
so
actually.
Maybe, again, they kill these guys, and again, we don't know if this is a hallucination or not, because let's be honest, what is a Nick Cage movie if there's not like a million hallucinations in it?
Maybe, maybe just when they enter the church, we get like a shot of some sort of canisters of hallucinogenic gas or something like that that the audience doesn't understand what it is exactly, but that becomes relevant later on in the plot, because then you see those gas canisters somewhere else, and it's like, oh, that was...
Maybe they're hallucinating Ed Harris as this devil.
Yeah, perhaps.
And then he says, "Oh, I shall give you these abilities," but he actually doesn't. But they think that they do have these powers. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think that would work better.
I think that's...
because then the rest of the movie is a mystery to us with it.
Yes.
So that,
I really like that. Okay, no, that's so cool.
And the rest of the movie, for me, at this point, because I don't want to do the whole plot of the film necessarily. The rest of the movie is them trying to work out, like, actually what the hell has happened to them.
And then whether or not sorry for interrupting again, but whether or not they should play into this devil character and like acquiesce with his demands or try and fight it, whatever it is.
And this is where we see Nick Cage portray both his serious side and his not so serious side. So we can see him at times embracing what he thinks is these powers, and actually he's just being crazy towards everyone.
What powers do you think they should have? Like I know what my ideas are, but I want to hear.
Nick Cage is an alcoholic, so I feel his ability would be to consistently drink without getting drunk. That would be his ability for me. I also
wait.
Go on. Bruce Campbell, he can have something that's related to the Evil Dead if you want that. Let's not get into too many details. But Nick Cage believes, if I drink more,
I become more powerful. The more I drink.
Yeah.
No, that should be it.
So he's a bit like Jackie Chan's Drunken Master in a way.
Yeah. I think
I think because let's play into this, because maybe it's a therapy thing for him. Maybe it's like, I'm trying to get straight, but if I drink more, maybe that will actually help people. So
I like that. I really like that. I think that's cool.
Yeah, I'm trying to put some like social commentary in this. Maybe a bit like Wicker Man was trying to, and kind of failed completely. This may also fail completely, but we'll find out.
I think that's a dope idea. And so then for Bruce Campbell's power, it's the power of charisma.
Yes.
Of like getting people to do exactly what he wants.
That to me works.
And then I think, they become more and more at odds the further through the film they get. They stop being detectives, they quit the force and go their separate ways and like do something. Like Nick Cage would become like some sort of a professional fighter maybe, because he believes like he can become stronger, and then because of that belief he gets power through, or it remains ambiguous.
And this ties into his work at Kick-Ass, where he is.
Exactly.
He is a former cop who turns into Discount Batman.
100%.
Cool.
And then Bruce Campbell, he sets up like either a corporation or a church that begins to take over.
The Church of Doves, I think it's going to be.
Yes. St. John Woo's Church of Doves, 100% there. And he buys up the plot of land where the original church that they went into was.
And then we get to the finale of this.
Yes.
And in the finale, Nick Cage realizes I've got to take Bruce Campbell down.
Yeah.
But the only way he can do so is he needs to find... he believes he needs to find some ancient relic.
Yes.
And the only way he can do so...
We're going to steal the Declaration of Independence.
...is by stealing the Declaration of Independence.
We have this on lock.
Finding the treasure map at the back of it, going to his estranged father, who may or may not be played by John Voight.
Hell yeah.
Actually, who would
No!
play... No, who played...
Ed Harris.
Well, no, we've already cast Ed Harris as the demon.
Like,
well, no, wait, okay.
it could be a representation
John
of his father.
No, John Malkovich is the dad.
No, yeah, you're right.
Or is John Malkovich the devil?
John Malkovich is his dad.
Okay, so yeah, he goes
and his brother's Steve Buscemi.
You just want to con it. No, his brother is John Travolta.
Yes, yeah, that makes way more sense.
His brother is John Travolta.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, he needs. Yeah, so there's this kind of. So he wants to use his ability. To, yeah, I just wanted to cram in National Treasure.
And then we could have kind of a Cowboy Bebop-esque ending, where they confront one another. They have a big fight scene. Something
everywhere.
plot symbolism something.
Oh, they're on the rooftop, and
yes.
I'm reminded of this because I saw Paddington recently. And the ending for Paddington, it is brilliantly set up actually. Minor spoilers. Throughout the whole film, as true to the Paddington character from the books, he has a marmalade sandwich in his hat consistently.
Yeah.
And every time he's about to eat it, a pigeon always appears, and it's always the same pigeon because he really wants the bread, basically.
Okay, where's this going?
Basically, without spoiling too much, they get to a rooftop at the end, and he distracts the villain by throwing the sandwich towards it. All these pigeons arrive and distract the villain.
That's
so
amazing.
So maybe in this, somehow, Nick Cage is about to be defeated, and with his last shot, he seemingly misses Bruce Campbell, but actually hits, the last cage of all the doves.
Yeah.
And the doves flock Bruce Campbell.
And then they're down in like someone releases the gas into the church again or something like that. And then they're down in that same basement and they're fighting. And then
I was gonna go more of just like the doves knock him like off the building, but
okay, I think that
if you wanna
But then I was thinking like then Bruce Campbell he falls into the blood pool. Or whatever it is, or like the pool of liquid, and becomes the sacrifice.
Yeah, no, that kind of.
And
then the honey comes back.
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. Yeah. And then Nick Cage is lying there dying, and then at the very end, then we have Ed Harris coming out of the blood pool, whose like facial features are Blade Runner 2049 style, melded with Bruce Campbell's features, and he's like, "Well done. This was all a test. Now you are my sole champion." You are my Antichrist. And then it's left ambiguous as to
he
what.
goes, you're my Antichrist. You are the Ghost Rider.
Yeah. Yes! Okay, yeah, we've done it.
We've done it.
And on that bombshell, I think we've just made the ultimate Nick Cage movie. What are we calling it?
Cage fights Bruce Campbell in a church. For the doves, maybe?
For the doves.
Yeah.
Requiem of the Doves.
Should we actually... Requiem for the Doves sounds good. I think when you look back at Nick Cage, like movie titles, they're kind of either very ambiguous or they're very on the nose. Like, like Con Air, Face Off, Knowing, The Rock.
Yeah.
I think...
How about just Church?
Just Church of Doves, or does that sound too much like a Terrence
Church Malick? Requiem for the Doves.
Just colon like everything. I think we need a really on the nose title. I think because you think about all of his films: Ghost Rider, The Sorcerer's Apprentice, Vampire's Kiss.
Yeah.
Like everything is very on the nose in all his titles. Like we need. We need something really on the nose for this. So,
oh man,
I think Church of Doves, or no, Requiem for a Dove.
The demon who loved me. I'm like,
Of demons and doves. I don't know what my dove obsession is coming back in.
Know. Evil doves.
Oh, not another Evil Dead reference. God damn it.
Yeah, boy. No, it has to be. This is Nick Cage. This is a Nick Cage thing.
Okay, cool.
Church of Doves.
Church of Doves?
Yeah. And then the doves could be just like massive symbolism, and then we can get John Woo to just go completely crazy on the doves.
Yes.
He will love us forever.
Yes.
And yeah, I think that's good, right?
I just imagine John Woo is now listening to this podcast and thinking, my God, people are still talking about me.
I hope so. We love you, John Woo. All right.
We do love John Woo. Well, I do.
So, are we settled on Church of Doves then?
Church of Doves? Okay, yes.
Okay.
Nick Cage in Church of Doves.
Hell yes. All right. Well, thanks for listening to our pilot episode of TPMP. Hopefully, you'll see us again soon. I have been Oscar Olesen.
And I have been Callum McAvoy.
Good morning, good evening, and good night.